A lot of us are at the end of our rope when it comes to money. We don't feel like we can get ahead. Between inflation, the rising cost of living, and geopolitical tensions that threaten stability, we feel exhausted and stretched to our limits. It can be hard to hold on to hope. We feel adrift with no sense of meaning and purpose. My name is Forrest, and this is the Geek's Guide to Enough, your guide for financial peace, simple living, and change of mindset. I've talked about breaking out of the narrative that pigeonholes us into this role where you're nothing but a victim whose life can only be changed through outside help. I've talked about the steps we need to take to get over the emotion-driven hurdles at the beginning of our financial change journey, and the mistakes I've personally made to reach financial peace. I have links in the description below if you want to check any of those videos out, but now I'm here to tell you about one of the most important things to do now that you're on the path towards that peace. It's time for you to read books.
Boring!
That might be one of the unsexiest things I've ever said in any of my videos so far, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm going to be saying a lot of unsexy things. And today, I want to recommend a book to you. I just need my assistant to fetch it for me.
How long is this going to take?
Today, I recommend Breaking Free from Broke by George Kamel. I randomly ran into this book while browsing at my local bookstore. I didn't know much about George at the time, but since I was already more invested in finances, I decided to buy it without reading it somewhere first. Honestly, I figured I'd like it. And I did! I mean, if Willie Robertson from Duck Dynasty liked it, then obviously I was going to love it. In this book, George goes into everything you can think of when it comes to tackling your finances. Debt, budgeting, spending habits, and student loans, just to name a few things. Not everything in the book was relevant to me, but I read the whole thing because I want to understand the other kinds of struggles people had with money. There's a lot of those, and the situation is admittedly more dire than it's ever been. George acknowledges that situation, to give him credit. Inflation, cost of living, dizzying credit card debt nationwide, and the consumerism culture. He takes those things and insists that while they're very real and do impact people, our situation is not hopeless. And I really enjoyed it. I read parts of it again and again, and will probably even read the whole thing again cover to cover. I think it's a really important book that teaches the importance of achieving financial health while also keeping in mind what people are going through today. That being said, I want to cover 3 things that George says in the book about the importance of margin. Margin is the buffer between how much we make and how much we spend. Understanding the advantages margin gives us is important. So, here are 3 tips that I've cherry-picked from the book that George gives about margin. Number 1 being, try a no-spend month to widen your margin. I haven't really talked about this on the channel yet, but it's extremely important to have margin in your bank account. What you have in your emergency fund doesn't count. Having enough for 3 or more months worth of expenses in that fund is great, obviously, but you want to make sure you have margin in your checking as well. In other words, spend less than what you make to build that buffer. Sometimes in order to get there, it's smart to get there by more extreme measures. In George's case, he recommends trying a no-spend month, 30 days of spending no money except on essentials. Honestly, this is something I'm considering doing for mine and my wife's goal to achieve single income stability in 2 years. To really reach that goal, we're probably going to have to do several months sporadically across the timeline. Now, to survive a plan like this, and I mean survive it, George includes a few tips like set a clear savings goal, pick a good month, of course, plan your meals, avoid browsing in store and online. Maybe a bad month would be a month that's your birthday, and you know that on your birthday you really like going out and having some fun. Probably not a good month to pick for the no savings month unless you want to go really, really hard and just do nothing crazy for your birthday, and you just want to be at home and do free things. Maybe you are savage like that. If so, go for it. But I just want to make the suggestion that if you want to do a no spending month, do it on a month where there weren't really any plans that you were making ahead of time. Another thing about margin that George talked about that I really liked was so simple yet so profound. Quoting the book directly, he says, "Margin leads to options. Options lead to freedom. Freedom leads to peace. Peace leads to joy." Let's be honest, not a whole lot of joy is getting passed around these days. Most people aren't feeling it because it feels like everything out there is against us. And it's true, there is a lot against us. I'm not ignoring that. But we fight that because we have the resources to do it. And finally, number 3, when you have margin, among other things of course, you have the power to be generous. Obviously, there are other things that you need in order to get freaky with giving, but having margin is one of the essential parts. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of joy being passed around these days. We don't feel it most of the time, but part of how we break out of that is by being generous. When we're generous, not only are we giving joy to other people, you're giving joy to yourself. I've never regretted a time that I was generous with somebody, and I felt joy over doing it, especially watching someone else have joy from the generosity that you have given them. George actually shares a couple of things that generosity does for us. Generosity can make you and those around you happier. Generosity can help you live longer. People who volunteer around 4 hours a week, for example, are 40% less likely to develop high blood pressure. Generosity counters depression. Generosity helps you become who you were made to be. I truly believe that the only people who are going to make it in this economy are people who are generous and give to others. Maybe you're in a position where being generous is impossible without first doing the things you need to do, like get out of debt, build an emergency fund, and set up your budget. And if that's the case, make it your goal to reach the point where generosity can fit into your life right away. Tackle all those things that I just listed, and the faster that you get to those things, the faster you will get to the point where you can be generous with others in ways that count. People love to complain about how billionaires never share their wealth with us, but 9 times out of 10, those same people probably don't give anything to anyone themselves. Most billionaires are never going to be generous with their wealth. We need to stop complaining about the fact that they're not, because even if they see your comment on TikTok or YouTube, they don't care. They're not going to change their ways because one person complained about the fact that they never give. Be better than them by doing the giving yourself. That is how we are better than them. Not pointing out the fact that they don't give, but by doing the giving ourselves. Heck, sometimes the best generosity are the times we do it and it hurts a little bit at the beginning. We might feel like a little bit of a squeeze, but I promise you'll never regret it. Don't overdo it to the point where it negatively impacts your own finances somehow, but do it in whatever way works for you and will make a positive impact on someone else. That is an essential part of the rebellion against the system and its narratives about us.
Welcome to the rebellion.
What?
I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you check out Breaking Free from Broke by George Kamel. I'll leave a link to the book on Amazon in the description below, and if you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe so that you can get more content like this. You can check out my Substack at geeksguidetoenough.substack.com, link in the description below, and check out my novel, The Glass God, also link in the description below. See you all next time.